Welcome back, subscribers. It's going to be a quick video about our experience so far with AI and what we're using it for internally. And most of the stuff that I've been using for is there is definitely some exploratory elements to it, but we've been using it for business. In as far as strategizing what to be doing, here's kind of messed up. How to be strategizing how the financial markets work, essentially, how the new crypto financial market works with the RWAs and all of that business. And what I'm finding is that it's where it's really useful is by going back and having it search the internet for public information. All right, and when it does that, it's incredibly useful to see, like, if you have a notion and a thought in your mind, that is it does it hold water? It's something that'll just pop into my mind, and then I'll activate it and then ask, like, hey, is there anything that's publicly uh you know uh put out there that identifies this thing that popped into my mind? And then sure enough, be like, okay, is there anything that's on the international stage that identifies this? So a lot of the stuff that I've been working on the past couple of weeks and identifying some things and researching is this I've talked about a universal basic income, and specifically UBI is what it's called, and what countries are coming on board with it, how it works, how it's been their pilot programs, etc. Like, just really deep diving into it and getting all the public information that's on it. And it's very interesting that what we're all trying to do right now, what I'm finding on the in the social platforms in general, is that there seems to be a lot of intense interest in decoding. There's all this information that's out there, and it seems like that's what the driver is. Everybody's a truther in some way, that they're putting something together. And I'm like, well, I'm really no different, except what we're doing at Reservoir is like getting um finding information that is truthful, but has some sort of backing, and it has a lot of financial backing behind it. So that's the interest. By getting inside information, this is the other thing that I've noticed. I was in a group for about 5 years, and there was some inside information that was in it. But what I had found was that it's almost like you throw enough shit against a wall, something's going to stick. So this is where I would say that there's the truther people that are out there that are getting something and they're regurgitating what they hear from somebody else. It's this echo chamber. And then there's other people that are interconnected to people. Like, I have connections and things, and I hear things from people that get me to, maybe pay a little bit closer attention to something, and of basically how the world works and how to stay and survive, because that's basically all we're trying to do. The mechanism that's in place right now is this, like, survivability. Like, we're not having to go, fend for, to go get food and shelter and so on, like we're, running around with loincloths. So now we find, like, we're in a defensive information position. So we're in, like, this defensive war that's going on right now. And the more of that comes out, it just seems like everybody is, like, so, like, oh, did you know about this? And did you hear about this? It's just, every time you run into somebody, it's somebody has found some other little nugget of information, that's, like, helping them along in their lives. And maybe that does. It's great for them. Good. But is it really actionable information, or is it just been served up for you to be, uh, satisfied in spending and wasting your time on it? So my interest would be, like, well, in the upper level environments, when you're dealing with just straight business, people don't really piss around with conspiracy theories and whatever, any of the weird stuff, in order to prognosticate what's going to happen in their reality. Franklin and I have talked about this. He said, for all these people that are whether it's psychics, seers, channelers, remote viewers, etc., how many of them are wealthy? If they're able to actually see the future, then how many of them are consistently knocking it out of the park? I don't mean, like, getting lucky like a couple of times. I'm talking about like a proven track record where you could bet in the markets. Now, I know of like Brett Stewart, he's a remote viewer. He says that he uses it all the time. And but it can't be that good, because if it was that good, then he would no longer be doing anything public. You would just be like killing it. Like there's just it would be, if you were always winning, you would become there's a paranoia that sets in. I've been around people that have done really well in the markets when things have gotten very volatile, and they made a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars, and they become kind of reclusive, I guess, because of it, because they won. It was like this, it's like they called their shot, like Babe Ruth, and they called their shot and won. But if you're consistently being able to do it over and over again, it starts getting to you. It's kind of like in sports. It happens in sports. Like a hit streak. Is anybody ever going to touch? It's what's his name? Joe DiMaggio's hit streak. Probably not. I think it's 56 games or something like that. Probably not in modern baseball. It's probably not going to happen. Could anyone have a 0 ERA? Like, no. Pitching, no. Running backs, like every year they're going to run 2,000 yards, etc. Stuff like that. Like maybe it's Roger Federer for tennis. Like how many wins does he have in major tournaments? It was Tiger Woods for a while, right? And winning all these majors. He's going to beat Jack Nicklaus. So anyway, you have all these like rises and rises and rises, but it gets to the point where it just like it runs out of gas. So, but people that are structured and understand how business works and these cycles work, they never lose. And that's what I'm learning through using the AI, is that I'm like, so ultimately, like, how does this work from a financial perspective? Like, how do the bankers actually really do this? Like, the banks never lose. So how do you get yourself to be the unbanked? And this has been a common thing throughout all of crypto, that people have talked about this, like, oh, it's it's banking the unbanked. You could have crypto transactions and you don't need a brick and mortar bank, and people can do commerce like in the jungle. As long as you have an internet connection or Starlink, you could do business. Or through DeFi, you could get a loan through DeFi. If you get to be your own bank, you're the one that holds your keys. There isn't somebody else that's responsible for owning, having vaulting your coins. Now they have cold storage, right? And they've had that forever. Cold storage wallets. So it's like the whole system is set up for you to be privatized, essentially like a privatized banker. So then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do some really hard research and understand, like, basically how the engine and mechanism of the traditional banking system works. And then I'm going to have it apply it directly to the crypto system. And since I had been digging into the RWA system and understand how that works, and are in the process of tokenization on a couple of properties, I'm learning, like, oh, there's language that the AI uses. And the language is like, a financial engine, a perpetual financial engine is what was used. And I don't prompt it. It's just, I'm asking it questions like, how exactly does this work, XYZ, and how do the bankers do it? And how is it that they never lose? And it's like, it's essentially like a casino from the way I look at it. And they're always making interest. And da. Well, it was last week, and I was just driving around and talking with it, trying to make sense of this. And I know the concepts, but it's like, how do you apply it to this new system? Well, it turns out the RWA system is. I was like, I just feel, look, my eyes are like droopy, like I didn't wake up, like still sleepy. Um, the RWA system, real world asset system, allows for privatized, like asset owners um, to have access to this system. So basically, that like, say, like fractional reserve banking, that's a term. Giving out loans to other, like, you become like, you're a publicly traded entity, so you're treated just as much as like you're this as a security. All right, you're treated just like, on this, inside this crypto space. By technicalities, it's like, it's similar to like you being like Apple or Alphabet or Tesla. Okay, like whenever you tokenize an asset and you put it out there for someone else, and an institution can invest in your asset. So depending upon how you set it up. So I'm like, well, this is crazy. They're opening it up. Like there's all this dystopian talk and everything about, like what's happening in the markets and when everybody's expecting this crash and da. And I'm like the total opposite. I'm like, holy cow, I've learned how this whole new system works, and it's either going to be wrecked and it's not going to go away and we're going to be able to Mad Max land, or there's going to be this new thing that's going on behind the scenes, and the old system, the legacy system, is just going to kind of feed on itself. So the traditional stock markets, um, everything, the banking system, and all of that, that it's going to end up being there isn't going to be more energy pumped into it. There's more interest in energy being pumped into the digital space, and that's where they're incentivizing moving into this RWA space. So that's why we start pushing into it. And I was like, well, we're going to go ahead and cover all this, and I'm going to do it because it's my private stuff. This is like my investments, like my portfolio. And I'm going to have the people on, and I'm going to cover it, right? And but it's going to be private. I'm not putting it out there for the public for somebody to take my stuff and then go out and throw it on a YouTube and just regurgitate it and create this feedback loop. I'm like, no, no, no. We'll create a community, other people that are interested in it. I'll go through it because I know so much about it that I'm willing to take a portion of my portfolio and move it into this system. Because from what I'm seeing and what the feedback I'm getting from the people that I'm talking to, so I get the information, maybe the AI structures it a little bit for me. I send out emails, I have conversations with them, with these companies, and they're confirming exactly the same thing that I'm getting back from my own research. It's not just AI telling me to do it. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm at the point now where it's like, all right, well, I guess I got to try it. And that's what I always do. That's kind of my MO. I'm like, well, I've got enough information, and I'm a doer. So I'm going to forge ahead and give it a shot and see what happens. And it's pretty low risk, that there isn't, it's not like you're signing some deal with the devil and they're going to take your soul and give you the mark of the beast and all this other crap. That it's 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 scary. It's interesting. It's like it's governed by your own personal interest in moving forward, meaning that if you're afraid to do something new, you're not going to get into it. If you're afraid of the digital space, crypto in general, how that works, you're not going to get into it. If you think that the old legacy system and everything is all going to go back to normal, it's just going to keep on riding into the sunset, uh, you're not going to get into it. There's so many. If you've made all your money and you're worth millions, or you're moving forward and uh, you have a pretty decent portfolio, the chances of you switching and trading and getting into this new system is very, very low. But then as I'm doing the research, being like, well, that's all by design, because they don't really want the people in there. They want this to be like just the businesses. We're creating this for us, and so that we can do what we want to do behind the scenes, and it's available to everybody. But the chances of somebody coming into this and understanding and learning about it is very, very, very small. And there's been a number of podcasts and things that I've seen about it, and no one's really actually doing it. They're just, again, it's an echo chamber. It's bullshit. So maybe they're good people. It's great, but at the end of the day, it's like, does it actually really work? Like, uh, test it out. Like, try it. And if I can put some time and money and energy into it, and actually produces something, and it is a benefit for me, um, then then it's viable. But until somebody actually goes out and sticks their head out of the sand and goes out there and tries to go do it, there's no way to trust it. So I was like, well, I did this early on in crypto. So I had made, a bunch of money in it. And I was just playing around in the system, um, and moving coins and taking loans out and DeFi and doing all these other things. And I was just learning how the system ran, and I learned basically the banking system. And I've been like everybody else, like normal Joes, like just like kind of like against the evil bankers and all this other business, and learning things like their language is very similar to the construction industry, incredibly similar. They'll have things like the tools, financial tools. It's a financial vehicle. They use all these terms and be like, dude, you're sitting at a freaking desk. You don't know a tool. You don't know a hammer from a screwdriver, right? So, but those are the terms that they use, and by understanding all of those different elements and how it is the applicate into this digital system and how they're incentivizing it, I was like, oh, so yeah, these guys don't really work. The white collar banker type guys, they don't really work. All they do is they know how to set up systems. They know how to set up basically this like accounting system of like moving money around. It's like giving this appearance that something is going on. But the new digital space in RWA, there actually really is something that's going on, right? There's rent. You can get yield out of it, which is actually rent. It's there are some things that are applied to it that are not that we wouldn't have access to. Essentially, like the only thing that you'd have access to in the old system, the only way you'd have access to it would be you'd have to be an institution, you'd have to be a bank. But in the new system, you can do loans to other people internationally, like anybody. If somebody is approved through the system, you could loan money to whoever you want to, like as long as they're approved, and it's your terms. You set the term limits, so they have to follow through with like paying you back. And people are like, well, they could just walk on that and be like, well, again, I've asked all these questions, and this environment is it pirate heavy or profiteer heavy? So it's going to be both. And but somebody that comes in there, and it's the people that are the holders of the collateral. So this is a different animal than a bank that's just taking loans and bets against depositors' money. All right. This is like your own personalized collateral. So if a company owns a property, say it's $1 million or $500,000 property, and they own it. They own that's the collateral. All right. For them to put it into the digital market, they've got skin in the game. Okay, that's a stake. So the chances of them, this, because I asked this question, I said, well, what's to say that I'm going to give them, I'm going to invest in them, and they just run off with my money? And they're like, well, why would they do that? And I'm like, well, because that's how business works. That's what people do. They steal people's money, and they're not straight and honest. And they say, well, in order for them just to get to the point where they're tokenized property and they said that the property has to be cleared and paid, or they have to identify through their books. There has to be like constant accounting that's happening inside the company. So it's not like 100%, not all of the assets that are tokenized are 100% collateralized. So at any rate, they have to keep up on it. And it's no different than investors investing in, let's say, IBM, right? Or NVIDIA or something like that. And then if you're a shareholder, you get to listen to the briefing, like how they're doing. And then you can watch the pricing and the stock pricing and so on and so on. Well, that's where the danger comes in with the pirates, where it's like, well, like, can you trust the people that are inside of that to invest in them? And that's what we're trying to do. Is we're getting information out there to teach people, but we're creating an internalized community and basically like vetting people that want to invest with other people that are inside the community, so that we have an internalized, the projects and things that you're working on. It's just a good, easy. It's a nice place to park your money if it's in real estate. So if you've ever seen the movie The Big Short, it's all talking about these mortgage-backed securities, and banks would just like basically invest the money in and forget about it, and they just did it forever, and that's why the market fell apart. So I'm like, well, if you have access to basically doing the same thing a Lehman Brothers did, what if you actually like stayed up on top and had a community of people that had other collateralized assets, and you invested you like did inner banking with the inner community, so that you have a heightened level of trust that's inside the community, because you actually get to know the people that are inside the spatial community, and be like, well, what would the image? Well, then you don't have to worry about it, because it's a very secure investment if the people that if you kind of know that the people are going to be following through and doing what they say, not just what's on paper. Like what are the people? Are they like-minded in moving forward? And I thought, wow, this could be like a really cool investment vehicle, because I've even talked about it like personally with my family, and I say we could basically create a family security, so that instead of the family investing in some other company, they could just reinvest in through our company, my company, using the house, the property, as a vehicle to be able to get the money back into. You have to have something to tie the money back into it. And then what happens then, I could take that money and invest it in somewhere else. And it's inside the crypto space, but it's our own personal family security. And I was like, worst case scenario, I was like, if nobody's interested in any of this or nobody can wrap their head around it, like how fantastic this is, I'm like, we'll just do it personally and have a family security. I said, so that it's just like a round robin. Everybody's money gets pulled back in, and maybe you don't trust your family. I don't know. That's sad. But if you do have people that you do trust, then it starts to grow and expand. Where that's like one of the biggest elements inside a business. I cannot harp on this enough, that it's trust. All right. When you start doing business with somebody, it's like sex. It's like Congress. It's like you're doing the business. You trust the other person, right? And when someone says something, they're supposed to follow through with it. Like I recently, like past year, I had a project that I was working on with somebody, and I told him, like, when we first got started, I said, don't move the goalposts. I said, I'd be willing to do, XYZ with you if it's defined and we have an idea of what we want to work towards. But whatever that goal is, that has to stay the same. So don't move the goalposts and keep changing things. If you keep changing things, then I'm out. I'm done. Right. And that's exactly what happened. It was almost like a year to the day. Like, I think it was like May. I think it was like basically a year. Yeah. Today. It's funny. 5/5. That was the last conversation I had with this guy. And that was it. I was like, no, you're indecisive. You may be in your mind, you're delusional, thinking that you have a direction that you want to go in, but you're talking about having business partners. And when you have a business partner, everything needs to be congruent. You need to be moving forward and just following through with what you say. Just because you pay somebody and you have a loose contract or whatever else, that's not really following through. So at any rate, I said, I've been through this enough times to know that when somebody is loose like that you just don't really want to do business with them. And because of this new digital space, they're giving this like open door transparency environment that makes it seem like everybody that's in the digital space is transparent and, honest and everything. I'm like, Mike, no. It's set up so that the internal privatized environments can be safe and secure. If you go out and it's an open sea of energy, okay, and to go invest in these markets, whether it's traditional crypto, RWAs, whatever, anything digital. If you're in the digital space, it's wide open sea. Now, if you have a community and you have a number of people that are investing in these things and you like these investment vehicles, get other people that are interested in the same thing, that have the same relative level of education, and then get to know who they are and what financial, vehicles they're either accustomed to understanding how that work, or what vehicles that they're putting on the market for maybe you to invest in, or what they want to invest in. And that will create the trust, because again, that's what the Reservoir Human is about. It's a reservoir of human beings that understand that you need to have conversations and trust. And that's what we're establishing here, is creating an environment that once people understand that this is a viable space to be in, what the new market, the new digital market is a real thing, they're going to be trying to migrate into it. And it is incredibly complicated by design, okay, to keep the people out of it. So that's what we're doing, is like we're archiving it. We're way ahead of the curve. I think Franklin and I were talking, I think it's like we're probably 5 to 10 years ahead of people actually really knowing what's going on. I think probably 5 years is when people are going to really start waking up to it. And so again, I'm just doing this as it's an exercise basically for me. And I said, every time that I start a new business and have like a new endeavor in something, I'm always way out in front, and it takes about 5 to 10 years to really get the thing going. So my interest is in creating like a community-based, privatized networking environment that you can, trust that your money is. It's basically like it's a tiering of investment, knowing that the people that are inside the community are, like-minded, and it's just not open to the public. It needs to be, it's private, it's like I said, it's like a country club. So, um, but anyway, as I do this, I'll catalog it, but the actual material that's going to be with the RWA material is going to be it's going to be behind the paywall. I'm not putting it out there because it's money. It's going to cost me, I think, close to $20,000 to do this. So, but once I do that, I'll have access to $1 million worth of collateralized asset, just from the way that I'm set up. So it doesn't mean that I'm going to actually go out and leverage that much, but that's the potential. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's from my understanding, it's about the same amount of money to get into it. So people that are investors that are around, whether you could be the small fry and not really have a lot. Franklin, I've talked about this. I said, like, people that don't have the collateral, but they want something that is a more stable, secure investment, would be in these RWAs. It's going to be real world assets. You could be on the buying side. Okay, I'm interested to do it because I want the safety, and I'll be on the selling side. Do you see what I mean? So at any rate, so there's a little bit of something for everyone. And then as you buy and make money inside this new market, you'll get to the point where you can buy and then you can sell, and then you're basically creating your own, like, financial, personalized financial instrument. Okay, and that's like, I just could never really wrap my head around that. But now it makes sense, and now it's time to deploy it. And it's funny, I was like, gosh, every time that I do something that's like a really major move in my life, there's always some kind of like thing that's going on energetically, like the financial crash. Like, I had purchased a company 2 years before the '08 crash happened. Before COVID happened, I launched a company 1 year. Not even. It was less than a year. I think it was 8 or 9 months, because it was in August, and then COVID happened in March. So it was like 9 months before COVID happened. And I launched another business right before that. And I just always have this tendency. So again, it's like me paying attention to the frequency of these elements, these things that come through my life. And whenever I get ready, where I'm like ready to make a move, there's always some kind of major thing that's going to be going on. So, like, I know that by like, okay, as soon as I do this, I'm like, we're going to have maybe, it's either going to happen this year or between 2028. And I have this corroborated through some of the other videos I've done with the digital identification. So once that stuff all kicks off, it's going to be a whole total shit show. So at any rate, there'll be more on that probably. I'll probably learn it, but it's speculative. I really try not to talk about it so much, because I'm going more towards like a broader brushstroke and a main primary directive where all the money's going. I mean, you're talking like trillions of dollars are going to be moving into this market. So there's right now, currently, I think the entire crypto market has, I just saw it, 2.6 trillion. So by I think 2030, the RWA market's supposed to be 2 trillion, to give you kind of an idea of that. The money's not going into these crypto coins like what people think. There isn't enough meat on the bone. If I could just think of how many, like, single family properties are paid for in the United States right now. All right. And then commercial buildings that are paid for, right? Even if they're not 100% paid for, it doesn't mean you can't put it on the market. But it's something like the total property value, land, dirt, structures, everything else. It was like estimated $175 trillion. And they're not marrying up crypto coins directly to this market. They're marrying up stable coins that are going to be run on these networks, but it's only going to be just a snippet of it. They're going to print more stable coins. They're not marrying up Bitcoin to a house, or Hedera Hashcraft to a $1 million property, or a commercial building that's worth 800 million. That's not happening. It's going to be a stable coin that runs on that native token. That's how it's going to work. So are they going to be worth more money? Sure, the crypto is going to go up. But is it going to be like lottery ticket bullshit like what's happened in 2021? Nope, it's not going to happen. That's not what's designed behind this, because they're creating this. I'll get into it later, but it's going to be some of the private material on the companies and the people, these big time money players. They're looking for making, if they can make 1 or 2%, on hundreds of millions of dollars, and they don't have to worry about it. It's plenty. I'll leave this last story. I was skiing last year. 2 years, like a year and a half ago. My son and I were in Utah, and we're up on top of the mountain, and we're talking to, we're just having a conversation between two of us. And behind me is a table of like 4 young guys that were like financial guys, because they're all talking about crypto and trading, and basically like what their hustle was, like how they're like making like side cash while they're doing what they're doing for, like one guy was working for Goldman, one guy was had just graduated from Wharton, and so on. They were like college buddies, they were all friends and buddies, and they were skiing. And this guy says, he's like type of money that these people are talking about. He said, yeah, he goes, I got this guy, he got $175 million mortgage, and he financed the property, and he put it into a fund that made it was like 1.5%. And it was a low number percentage. And he's like, yeah, he's like, he has all this property that's sitting, and I'm thinking like, how can you have a property that's worth that much? Like I can't even like fathom that, like how this is set up. $175 million. And they're just having a casual conversation about it. He's like, yeah, so he's like making, 1.5 points on that. And he's like, I need to get something like that going, where I can just like basically like set something, get somebody to set it up, and just kind of forget about it. So like when people are thinking about like rich people, and they're thinking about the Trumps and the Elon Musk, like there's people out there that nobody has any idea about, and they're just dumping their money and just shifting it into these new spaces, right? To these financial vehicles, and they're making like very, very low risk, 1-2% on the money at huge numbers. And he gets a commission out of it, and it's just like it just keeps the system rolling. It's just pushing moving paper. Well, I'm going to tell you, the new system, it's going to require you to put it back into something. You can't just, they're not going to allow for money to be sitting and just earning interest. It's going to have to be inside of something, that a vehicle that that actually has people contributing back into it. It's not going to be just sitting in a money market account or something like that and making money. No. It's going to have to be moved into a space that has some sort of an interest income that's going into it. All right, it has to be going towards it just can't be sitting. The money can't be sitting. The new system is going to be forcing money to be constantly moving around, the movement of currency. And all these people that are sitting on all this money, there's going to be some changes that are going to happen, and it's going to be exciting. So at any rate, I'm going to cut this off. Yeah, $175 million. I was like, huh? Yeah, I'll cut this off, and I'll do another one about some more stuff about the AI that's kind of interesting that we found out. So talk to you later. Cheers.